Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and I can't believe it, but we're already to the final week of Texas Tech spring football. So, I've been out to 8 of the 12 practices. There's 3 more left coming up this week, Tuesday, Thursday, and then culminating with the spring game 1 p.m. Saturday, which will be open to the public. And of course, I'll be there, and I'll have takeaways from the spring game. We'll have photo galleries, all that. I'll be at least one more of the practices, if not both Tuesday and Thursday as well. So I'll have takeaways, my top takeaways from there. And also, I had a mega notebook that I posted on, I think either Saturday or Sunday. It was Saturday, where it was basically the notes from practices I was out at Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And we were getting 45 minutes, even close to an hour, of viewing time, of getting to see Texas Tech football in action during spring ball this last week. So it's full of a lot of notes there. I think it was 2,000 words on those on that notebook. So check that out. It's I think it's spring ball, quarterback notes, offensive line improvement, and leadership in the secondary. So it's worth a read. All right, so I want to recap though some top storylines going into this final week. Just kind of set it up for those who maybe been caught up in the basketball drama, understandably, or other things. This will get you, in my opinion, caught up on a lot of things going into this final week of spring ball, going into the spring game on Saturday. First off, I know this is bad news, and I hate to start with bad news, but this is huge to me out of all of this, is Sir Roderick Thompson, starting running back. He went down with a shoulder injury, I believe in the first scrimmage, which was not this past Friday, but the Friday before. Either way, he missed all of last week with an injury. I think everything I'm hearing is it's going to be long-term. Tuesday, we saw Sir Roderick in a sling with that shoulder injury, so that's really bad news. All of a sudden you look at running back and there's 2 scholarship players at running back for spring ball with Sir Roderick down. Xavier White is only limited, and he's working with inside receivers a lot anyways, but you have Taj Brooks and Chadarius Townsend. Now, I like both those guys a lot. I mean, I feel like if you could guarantee me those guys would stay healthy for the season, man, you have a great 1-2 punch. But the Sir Roderick news is alarming. It did kind of, when I was watching the running backs and drills, minus him, and with Xavier working out in limited capacity, working out with the inside receivers, it's like, man, all of a sudden, here we go again. Tech basically only had Sir Roderick in spring ball last year, and now you only have 2 scholarship running backs again. So, you'll get some relief there. Xavier is expected to be 100% for fall camp and all that, and then you'll get some relief when Cameron Valdez, one of the highest rated running backs in the state of Texas, coming in as a true freshman. Running backs, they can come in as true freshmen and play. You'll hear coaches say, learn the offense, this or that. No, look, running back's a position you can come in and play. And he's certainly talented enough to do so. So Valdez will give you a shot in the arm in terms of depth, talent, all that. But it'll be interesting to see, will Sir Roderick be ready for kickoff next season against Houston at NRG? So we'll have to see how serious this injury is. And I think that is going to be, it should be a huge storyline coming out of this spring. Another big takeaway is Tyler Shuck, the Oregon quarterback transfer. Don't get me wrong, here in Columbia, almost every practice we've been at has received the first snap with the ones. But over the last 2 or 3 practices, I've seen a difference where, Columbia will get the first snap, but then Shuck will get 5 in a row with the first team. So and everything I've heard is Shuck's really emerging. He did well for the most part, in the first scrimmage. And I absolutely expect Tyler Shuck to be your starting quarterback on opening day against Houston and NRG. So I think he'll be QB1. I think he's already earning that mantle with the reps, showing his experience, all that. I think, Shuck's good. I think Columbia's actually been pretty consistent every time I've been out there. I know in terms of compared to some of these other guys, he's not the most talented, but he does have a Big 12 win on his ledger. He did help Texas Tech beat West Virginia at least, and played well in some other games such as Kansas State. So it's good. He's a great luxury to have. And then Baron Morton's been really good. Everything I've seen with him, now don't get me wrong, he's had some freshman moments but his arm talent is undeniable. His arm talent is every bit as it's been billed to be. So in terms of looking towards the future, Baron Morton is pretty exciting. And then there's Donovan Smith, 6'4", 220 pounds, very athletic, just has a cannon for an arm. So, man, and Maverick McIver's even looked good. I don't know where he's going to figure in the depth chart, if he'll even be in the top 4, to be honest. But in terms of just throwing the football, when I've seen him, he's looked really good. So I feel like quarterback's been upgraded tremendously from last season. Obviously it's a very important position. So that's huge. I think another big storyline is just how big the receivers and tight ends are. No matter who the quarterback is, they're going to have big targets to throw to. EZ looks just dominant as he was last year. He looks every bit the part of an all Big 12 receiver, so that's good. Jerand Bradley is a beast. He can really run. That freshman receiver out of DeSoto that's come in. So that's definitely something to watch is, will he get any playing time? Loic Fawanji, Trey Cleveland. You go down the list. McLean Mannix at inside receiver is a guy who's received a lot of pub. I think he missed all last year with the injury. Had kind of a disappointing first season with Texas Tech the year prior, but they every coach I've talked to in terms of offense really likes what McLean's been doing at inside receiver. And, he was really productive in Nevada, so it'd be interesting to see what he does. Offensive line, you lose Jack Anderson. I don't know. I don't care what your position is on whether he lived up to the hype of being, a blue chip recruit or not. He was your best offensive lineman this past year, and he was good. And he really was a mauler for you inside at guard, and you're going to miss that. There's no mistaking that. But your problems last year were really on the edges at tackle, and the addition of T.J. Storm at left tackle. He was a grad transfer from TCU. I've seen the difference. He's one of the strongest guys on the team. They did a tug of war before practice on Saturday, a series of tug of wars, and he was an anchor in one of them. And needless to say, they kicked butt. They won pretty easily. He also is very experienced. He's played a lot at Colorado State. He was a second team all Big 12 performer at TCU this past season. You're going to be improved on the perimeter in terms of your offensive line and tackle just because of him. So Josh Berger's moved into right guard. You have Carlos Rogers, who, as a true freshman, played a lot of left tackle. He struggled some, but he showed some promise. He's bigger, more experienced. He's playing right tackle. I think that's better for him. TJ Storman at left tackle. Then you had Dawson Deaton, who is noticeably slimmed down. Like, he came in with kind of looking like a giant baby Huey, but now, he's slimmed down, and I think he looks like a center. He looks like a Power 5 center. I think he's one of your best players on your team. He's been limited in practice, but he's played a lot. He's done a lot of the reps, working on plays, working, with his offensive line in practice, non-contact drills. So what Dawson Deaton can do. It's good that he's getting in and knowing the offense. And you got Weston Wright there at left guard, who he's a returning starter. He's a good player. I think the big thing with Weston Wright is sometimes, and you see this in one-on-one drills, where he'll go up against one of Tech's best defensive linemen and he'll do a really good job, really hold up, or even root him out of a hole. But then he'll get whipped a little bit, on the next play. So consistency will be the key with Weston Wright. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he could be your mauler type inside, and he could be a really good offensive lineman. But if you're inconsistent, then are you a good offensive lineman? The answer is no. So that's the next step for Weston Wright. On the other side, the defensive line, you return just studs. Jalen Hutchings, very strong player, stalwart at nose guard. Tony Bradford is up to 290, 295. He looks like a monster. And then Tyree Wilson at defensive end, he came in and was really thrust into action last year. Never really had his conditioning down. He's 6'6", 280 pounds. And, he looks like a brick wall running around out there, like a fast brick wall. He's going to be a really good player. Devin Drew actually has exceeded my expectations, was really good down the stretch. He's looked good in spring ball. Nelson Mabanasaur, has been really nice to see him out there. He's, going to be a big contributor if he can stay healthy. The question is depth. I really like how they've moved Tony Bradford in to nose to be kind of the backup to spell Jalen Hutchings, because that's what he played. Really, he played like a nose guard type or defensive tackle type. Going back to high school, and he was dominant on a dominant team. So I think they're trying to figure out some things on the defensive line to provide some more depth, and that's a I think that's a really good move. It's going to pay some dividends there, and you can move some other guys, a defensive tackle and defensive end. But I like the defensive line for the most part. They got to stay healthy, and they got to develop some more depth. Linebackers, the strength of the team. Just bottom line: Colin Schooler, Krishan Merriweather. You just go down the list. You need something from Brandon Boyer-Randall. Rigo Jeffers has been out, but he's been like another coach out there. He's been out there every practice I've been at, helping guys. So linebacker is just a really strong part of the team. I think it's one of the strongest linebacker units in the Big 12. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do this upcoming season. And then, all right, you go to the secondary. The starters I love, man. First off, Marquise Waters is... he's a leader. I wrote about this in that notebook I mentioned, this most recent notebook, but he's the kind of guy, he's always, as I say, chopping it up with teammates. He's always talking, whether it be getting on somebody for not giving proper effort through a whole play or even a drill, encouraging other guys, showing guys, some of the younger guys technique, even walk-ons. He's been showing them technique. I've seen that several times. High-fiving gray hairs on the sideline as he's going from drill to drill, or coaches or players, or trying to dancing between reps to try and lighten the mood. The guy is impressive from that standpoint. And then I've seen him be extremely physical in hitting drills, like to the point where is this a good idea to let this happen, because you can't afford injuries there. And then in coverage is where I think I expected a lot of this stuff, but because I heard about it. But in coverage, they've put him down in the slot a lot. He has been tremendous. I think he could be your second or third best corner on your team. He's that good in press coverage. Even when he's backed off some, he's known as a really good center fielder. So he's going to be Marcus Waters, the grad transfer from Duke. He's been one of the better DBs in the ACC the last couple of years. He was a team captain. I think he's going to be one of the better defensive backs in the Big 12 this upcoming season, and certainly one of the better players on Texas Tech's roster, and a team captain. So that's just a huge addition. The length is improved in the secondary. I like Waters next to Monroe in terms of experience and talent. Then you have DeMarcus Fields returning. I think he's one of your better players last year. He is experienced. He's also very hungry in terms of he's playing for a spot in the NFL to be drafted, and I think that's huge. He's a really good player, DeMarcus Fields, and so then you start wondering, after him, who do you have at cornerback? Well, I gotta be honest, Rashad Williams. I don't know. I was kind of skeptical. I thought, well, look, he started some at UCLA, but I want to see why is he here. Well, man, he's listed at 6'2". He looks a lot longer than that. I've seen him make some really good plays against some of Tech's top receivers in one-on-one drills this spring. I think he's going to be a really good football player. But one of the biggest things for me, and you want to talk about being skeptical, was Adrian Fry. All right, he's another guy who's had a great spring, and of course, as a freshman, he was an freshman All-American at corner. And then the new staff comes in, they move him to safety, and it did not work out. He had a terrible season. Then last year, he was basically invisible. He really almost didn't play. So, you almost you start counting him. Okay, I'm not going to count on Fry to do anything. And you wonder if he's going to transfer. No, he's still here, and he's had a great spring. He's been working with the one sum. I think it will be a really interesting, competition between because DeMarcus Fields is one of your corners. So who's going to be the other starter? And I think it's between Rashad Williams, it's between Adrian Fry, who's been working in there with some ones, and then it's between Malik Dunlap, who's been out. Boy, he's big, 6'3", 6'4", depending on who you ask. NC State had him listed as 6'4", Tech has him listed as 6'3". Coach Wells said, he's very close to 6'4", and he can cover. So he has multiple games, double-digit starts under his belt at the Power 5 level, and he's had some success. So Malik Dunlap is expected to be ready to go this summer and full go in fall camp. So those three will be battling for the other starting spot, and they're all going to play. Because that's my other biggest concern. Is I was concerned about a little bit about running back depth, not so much, because they're all really quality players. If White comes back, Valdez, you have four solid guys, and hopefully Sir Roderick is able to go, of course. The offensive line, look, behind the starters, I don't know what the answers are there. I'm sure they have some guys, they have an idea, but you need those starters to stay healthy. You can't really have more than 1 or 2 injuries next year up front. And then at cornerback, because who are these young guys who are going to step up? And I have 2 guys I think have a shot at doing that. And one of them is Nate Floyd. The young guy is a freshman. He's another guy who looks longer. He plays longer than he's listed. I really like him. He's very athletic. I really like his flexibility. You always hear scouts talk about hips in terms of him being able to turn his hips on the run, on the fly, to adjust to the ball in the air. Very good athlete. He's the type of guy you play him in several positions. You think he'll do well. I'm glad he's at corner because I think that's a good spot for him. He's probably going to have to play too. And then you go to a Kobe Minor, who I thought would play safety. I thought he'd be a really good center fielder type safety, but they have him at corner, and he's looked pretty good. He's young too. He's a freshman, but I think he's a football player. I think he's one of those guys who, at some point, maybe it's this year, maybe it's 2 years from now, I don't know, but I think he's going to play a lot in the secondary for Texas Tech, and I think he's just one of those guys who he might have 10 tackles one game, or he might have 2 pass defenses the other game, or he might get you a big pick, and I think he's competitive in that. I've seen him get beat in a drill and say, want to do it over again, and then come back and make a big play, so he's not, I don't think he lacks for confidence. I think he's a good player, he has confidence, and I expect him at some point, the question is when, to make plays for Texas Tech in the secondary. So, special teams, Chuks Nuboko, I think it's going to be your punt returner. I don't know who the kick returners are going to be as of yet, but they need improvement in both those areas. Austin McNamara, man, I've seen some punts from him that are just, he is an All-American type. He is one of the best special teams players in the Big 12 and just a great asset to have on your team when you do have to punt. And then kicking, I tell you what, one day I went out and it was really bad. We all got freaked out that we're out there like, man. But then I saw here most recently, I think it was Saturday, Jonathan Garibay hit 7. He connected on 7 for 7 field goals, and a lot of it was like sped up. Like, all right, they were, the coach was counting down. They had to get the kickoff in a certain amount of time, and then also it was from different hash marks from the middle, different distances. I think he was 4 for 4, either 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 from 40 or a little bit beyond, like 40 to 45. So he looked good. You still have Trey Wolf there too, who's done it before at a high level. So I think special teams has the opportunity to be better because let's face it, there were some good times and there were some really bad times on special teams last year. So that's another area that has to improve. But if it does, it's going to help Texas Tech in terms of the win column. And that's what it's all about, right? I think everybody watching this is like, yeah, how many games are they going to win? Well, I will tell you this. Based on what I've seen this spring, the improvement at quarterback, the improvement in the secondary through the transfer portal, and just how much bigger this looks more like a Power 5 type program. Based on all that, I'm expecting Tech to win at least 2, possibly 3 more games next year. So that means either 6 or 7 games, go to a bowl game, and it be a building block, a foundation to for this program to go further. To get back to respectability and for teams to not just take them for granted, and hopefully at some point for Texas Tech to be a player in the Big 12. That's the end goal, right? So I think this is really important this offseason. There hadn't been a lot of drama. The Roderick news is tough, but overall, I think it's been a good spring ball. They got 1 more week. I'll be interested to see what happens with the spring game, and of course, I'll be along with Mighty Joe recapping the spring game. We'll have videos. We'll probably have a podcast from it. Jaeger shots, all that. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.